This trick disarms narcissists. 1. Silence is a strategy, not surrender. Most people believe silence means weakness, that if you don't clap back, if you don't defend yourself, you've somehow lost. That's exactly what a narcissist wants you to think, because if you believe silence is surrender, you'll rush to fill it, you'll argue, explain, justify, and the moment you do, you've stepped right into their arena. But silence isn't losing. Silence is refusing to play. Silence is strength wrapped in discipline. It's choosing not to fight battles that don't deserve your energy. Think about it. When someone tries to bait you, what do they crave most? Your reaction, the raised voice, the defensive tone, the long explanation they can twist and throw back at you. But when you choose silence, you rob them of their fuel. They can't spin your words if you don't give them any. They can't escalate a fight if you don't step into the ring. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of silence that hides fear. I'm talking about the silence that speaks louder than words, the silence that says, I see what you're doing, and it's not worth my peace. It's not silence because you have nothing to say. It's silence because not everything deserves a response. Here's the truth. Narcissists thrive in chaos. They want noise. They want drama. They want to pull you into an endless loop of defending yourself. Every time you explain, they'll twist it. Every time you argue, they'll shift the goalposts. And every time you try to prove your worth, they'll dangle approval just out of reach. But silence cuts through all of that. Silence says, you don't get to control me. Picture this. Someone is throwing bait in the water, trying to hook you. Every time you bite, they reel you in and drag you around. But what happens when you stop biting? They can throw all the bait they want. If you don't bite, the game is over. That's silence, and let's be clear. Silence doesn't mean you roll over and take abuse. It doesn't mean you let someone walk all over you. It means you choose your battles. You decide when and how to use your voice. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to say nothing at all, because silence, when used with intention, is a strategy. It's not passive, it's active. There's power in restraint, power in waiting, power in showing that your peace is not up for negotiation. And here's the kicker. When you stop reacting, narcissists start scrambling. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't play by their script. They push harder, they test more, but eventually they see it doesn't work. That's when their power crumbles. Think about times in your life when silence spoke volumes. A look across the room, a pause in the middle of an argument, a moment of stillness that made the other person uncomfortable. That's not weakness, that's control. You're holding the cards, you're deciding the pace. So the next time someone tries to drag you into their storm, pause, breathe. Remember that you don't have to answer every question. You don't have to fight every fight. You don't have to prove yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Your silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care too much about your peace to hand it over. It means you know your value isn't determined by whether or not someone gets the last word. It means you've chosen strength over noise. Silence is a weapon. Silence is a shield. Silence is a strategy. And the people who mistake it for surrender will never understand how powerful it really is. 2. Detach from their approval. One of the hardest truths to accept is this. Some people will never give you the approval you're looking for. Not because you're unworthy, not because you've done something wrong, but because withholding it is how they keep control. Narcissists thrive on dangling validation like a carrot on a stick. They give you just enough to keep you chasing, but never enough to let you rest. Here's the problem. When you tie your worth to their approval, you've handed them the keys to your identity. They get to decide when you feel confident, when you feel seen, when you feel enough. And that's a dangerous place to live. Because the truth is, their approval was never real in the first place. It was a leash. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop depending on unhealthy people to tell you who you are. It means you pull the plug on the game. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I like me? Because at the end of the day, your approval is the only one that truly counts. Think about it like this. If you're constantly waiting for someone to clap for you, You'll never dance to your own rhythm. You'll always be looking over your shoulder, checking if they're smiling, checking if you've earned their nod. And the moment they frown, your whole world crashes. That's not freedom, that's bondage. Detaching from their approval sets you free. It says, I don't need your applause to validate my value. It shifts the power back where it belongs, inside of you. Because here's the truth. The people who manipulate approval do it because they know how much you crave it. Break that craving, and you break their hold. Now, let's be real, it's not easy. We're wired to want connection, to want affirmation. But there's a difference between healthy encouragement and manipulative control. Healthy encouragement lifts you up without strings attached. Manipulative approval is conditional. It says, you're only good if you serve me. And that's not love, that's control. So how do you detach? You start by recognizing the pattern. Notice when you're seeking approval from someone who never gives it freely. Notice how much of your emotional state is tied to whether or not they notice you. Then ask yourself, do I really want to keep renting out my self-worth to someone else's mood? The moment you realize you don't have to live like that, things start to shift. You begin to build validation from within. You celebrate your own wins. You affirm your own progress. You trust your own decisions. And the more you do, the less you care whether someone else claps, because you're already clapping for yourself. Imagine a world where you no longer chase after scraps of attention, where you no longer twist yourself into knots to impress someone who's never satisfied, where you no longer measure your worth by someone else's shifting standards. That's what detachment gives you: freedom, peace, confidence. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop chasing their approval, you start attracting healthier people, the ones who celebrate you without strings, the ones who encourage you without control, the ones who clap because they're genuinely happy for you, not because they need something from you. Detachment is power. It says, I don't need you to approve of me in order to be me. It says, your opinion of me is not my reality. It says, I'm enough with or without your validation. So the next time a narcissist tries to hook you with disapproval, whether it's the silent treatment, the backhanded comment, or the shifting standards, pause. Remind yourself their approval is not the prize. Your peace is, your self-respect is, your freedom is. Detach from their approval and you'll discover something incredible. You never needed it in the first place. 3. Respond. Don't react. There's a big difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is instant, emotional, and usually messy. It's the knee-jerk snap when someone pokes at your buttons. A response is calm, deliberate, and intentional. It's the pause before the move, and that pause, that small space between what they say and what you do, is where your power lives. Narcissists know this better than anyone. Their entire game is built on getting you to react. Why? Because a reaction is predictable, it's emotional, it's explosive, and when you explode, they can point the finger and say, see, you're the problem. But when you choose to respond instead, you break their script. Think about it like a trap. A reaction is walking straight into it without looking down. A response is stopping, looking at the ground, and stepping over it. The trap doesn't work if you don't walk into it. Now, let's be honest, reacting feels good in the moment. You get to vent, shout, slam the door, prove your point, but afterward, you're drained. You replay it in your head. You wonder if you should have said less or maybe more. And the narcissist, they're satisfied because your fire gave them oxygen. Responding is different. Responding is controlled. It's you saying, I decide how this conversation goes. You might still set a boundary. You might still say something firm, but you do it with calmness, not chaos, and that calmness is what disarms them. Let's make this practical. Imagine someone throws an insult at you. A reaction sounds like, who do you think you are? You always do this. You're so selfish. That's fuel for them. A response sounds like, that comment is not okay with me. Short, clear, calm. That's not fuel, it's a wall. Here's the trick. Reacting is about them. Responding is about you. A reaction says, you control my emotions. A response says, I control my emotions. One gives them power, the other takes it back. Now, I'm not saying responding means you stay quiet forever or tolerate bad behavior. Responding doesn't mean shrinking. It means you stand firm without letting them drag you into the mud. Because when you fight in the mud, even if you win, you're still dirty. This is where the pause comes in. The pause is your weapon. Before you answer, breathe, count to 3, ask yourself, if I say this, am I feeding their game or protecting my peace? That tiny pause creates space. And in that space, you get to choose the response instead of falling into the reaction. And here's something powerful. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Silence, a boundary, or even walking away can say more than words ever could. Remember, you don't owe anyone your energy just because they demand it. When you train yourself to respond instead of react, you start to feel lighter. You stop feeling like a puppet on their strings. You stop replaying conversations in your head at 2 a.m. You stop wondering if you should have said something different because you know you responded with intention. You stayed in control. It's not easy, especially when someone knows your triggers and presses them on purpose. But every time you practice responding instead of reacting, you get stronger. You show yourself that you don't have to take the bait. You prove that their chaos doesn't decide your calm. So the next time someone comes at you with manipulation, gaslighting, or insults, pause. Take a breath, choose your words, choose your tone, choose your energy. Don't give them the reaction they want. Give them the response they don't know what to do with. Respond, don't react. That's not just a trick, it's a lifestyle, a way of living that keeps your peace intact, your dignity untouched, and your power exactly where it belongs, with you. 4. Boundaries are armor, not walls. Most people confuse boundaries with walls. They think if you set boundaries, you're shutting people out, being cold, being rude. But boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about keeping your peace in. Boundaries are not walls to isolate you. They're armor to protect you. And when you deal with a narcissist, armor is exactly what you need. A narcissist's favorite weapon is testing limits. They push, they prod, they see how far they can go. The moment they find a weak spot, they dig in deeper. If you have no boundaries, they'll walk right through your life like it's open property. That's why boundaries aren't optional. They're survival. Here's the shift in thinking. Boundaries are not punishments. They are clarity. They are you saying, this is where I end and you begin. This is what I will allow and this is what I won't. Without boundaries, people guess where the line is, and narcissists don't just guess, they redraw it in their favor. Picture armor for a moment. A knight doesn't wear armor because they hate the world. They wear it because they want to walk into battle protected. That's what your boundaries do for you. They let you step into situations without fear of being pierced by every dart someone throws. Now, boundaries aren't just about what you say, they're about what you enforce. Saying, "Don't talk to me like that," means nothing if you keep standing there when they do. Boundaries require action. Boundaries require consistency. Because narcissists don't respect words. They test them, over and over, and when they see you stand firm, that's when they realize they can't break through. Here's the key. Boundaries are not about controlling them. You'll never control them. Boundaries are about controlling you, what you will allow, what you will walk away from, what you will engage in. You don't set a boundary to change someone else, you set it to protect yourself. And yes, boundaries will upset narcissists. They'll accuse you of being selfish, of being cold, of not caring. Why? Because boundaries take away their power. They can't push past your limits anymore. They can't use your kindness as a weapon. They can't play their games unchecked. Of course, they'll get angry. Control is slipping through their fingers. But here's the truth. If someone gets angry at your boundaries, that anger is proof you needed them. Healthy people respect boundaries. Healthy people want clarity. They appreciate knowing where the line is. Only the ones who want to take advantage of you get upset when you finally stand up and say, "No more." So how do you set boundaries with strength? First, you keep it simple. Boundaries don't need essays. They don't need apologies. They sound like, "I won't be spoken to that way. If this continues, I'll leave the conversation." that doesn't work for me. Short. Clear, firm. Second, you follow through. If you set a boundary but never enforce it, you're teaching them your words are empty. Follow through is where the power is. It's where the armor gets its strength. And third, you let go of guilt. Boundaries are not selfish, they're self-respect. Think about it. If you don't guard your peace, who will? If you don't protect your energy, who will? Boundaries aren't just for you. They're for the relationships you want to keep healthy. Without them, resentment builds. With them, respect grows. So the next time a narcissist pushes, instead of folding, stand tall. Put on your armor, speak your boundary clearly, enforce it firmly, and when they huff and puff, let them. Their reaction doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're finally protecting what matters most, your peace. Boundaries are not walls to shut the world out. They're armor to let you walk confidently through it. They don't make you cold, they make you strong. They don't mean you don't care, they mean you care enough to protect yourself. And that kind of strength, that's untouchable. 5. Gray rock technique. If you've ever dealt with a narcissist, you know their favorite game is drama. They live for reactions, anger, tears, frustration, anything that shows you're hooked. But here's the trick that flips their game upside down, the gray rock technique. It's simple, powerful, and almost impossible for a narcissist to handle. So, what is it? It's becoming unshakable, it's becoming boring, just like a gray rock, dull, uninteresting, and impossible to provoke. Because narcissists aren't looking for peace, they're looking for fire. And if you stop giving them sparks, they lose interest. Think about it like this. A narcissist throws bait into the water, expecting you to bite. They want the fight, they want the tears, they want the explosion. But when you become the gray rock, you don't bite, you don't flinch, you don't give them the show they're trying to create. And what happens to a performer when the audience stops clapping? The act ends. Now, this doesn't mean you shrink into silence every time. It means you strip away the emotional reaction they're trying to pull out of you. Instead of yelling, you answer calmly. Instead of defending endlessly, you give short, neutral replies. Instead of taking the bait, you stay still. You become steady, boring, and uninterested. Let me be clear, being a gray rock doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It doesn't mean you stop setting boundaries. It doesn't mean you let people mistreat you. What it means is you refuse to feed their hunger for drama. You protect your energy by not giving them what they crave. Here's how it looks in practice. Narcissist, you never do anything right. Reaction, that's not true. I work hard, you just don't notice. Fuel for them. Gray rock response. Okay. Narcissist, nobody likes you. You're pathetic. Reaction, that's a lie. People do like me. Fuel for them. Gray rock response, I see. Short, neutral, calm, no fire, no spark, just gray. Now, this technique isn't easy because your natural instinct is to defend yourself, to argue, to prove them wrong. But you don't need to prove yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. That's wasted energy, and the gray rock technique is about protecting that energy. Here's the beautiful part. The more you practice this, the more you realize how much power you actually hold. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove your worth in every conversation. You don't need to chase their approval. When you stop performing in their circus, the circus falls apart, and yes, they'll push harder at first. When a narcissist sees their usual tactics don't work, they may get louder, meaner, more dramatic. That's normal. It's called an extinction burst. They're testing to see if you'll break. But if you stay steady, if you stay gray, eventually they'll get bored. They'll look elsewhere for drama. Think about it. You are the director of your own energy. Every reaction is a choice, and sometimes the strongest choice is the boring one. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Because nothing frustrates a manipulator more than realizing they can't control you anymore. This technique isn't about becoming lifeless. It's about becoming selective. You don't give your energy away to people who only want to drain it. You save your fire for the places it belongs, for growth, for joy, for love, for the people who truly deserve it. So, the next time a narcissist throws bait at you, picture yourself as a gray rock, solid, calm, unshakable. Let their words bounce off. Let their drama fall flat. Remember, they only win if you play the game, and the easiest way to win is simple. Don't play. The gray rock technique isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's you saying, my peace is priceless, and I won't spend it on chaos. That kind of strength, that's how you disarm them completely. 6. Protect your energy like it's gold. Here's the truth. Your energy is the most valuable currency you have. More valuable than money, more valuable than time, because without energy you can't use either. And yet, when it comes to dealing with narcissists, most people spend their energy like it's cheap. They waste it on endless arguments, pointless explanations, and battles that never end. But if you want peace, if you want strength, if you want control, you have to protect your energy like it's gold, because it is gold. It's your fuel. It's what powers your mind, your body, your relationships, your goals. And once it's drained, everything else suffers. That's why narcissists work so hard to get it from you. They know if they can drain your energy, they can control your life. Think about the last time you argued with someone who thrives on conflict. How did you feel afterward? Exhausted, drained, maybe even guilty? Second, guessing what you said, that's not by accident, that's by design. They take your energy and you're left with nothing but frustration. That's why protecting your energy is not selfish, it's survival. Protecting your energy starts with awareness. Ask yourself, where does my energy go every day? Is it going into people who uplift you, who encourage you, who celebrate you? Or is it being siphoned off by people who criticize, manipulate, and control? If your energy is gold, why would you hand it over to someone who only spends it against you? Here's the shift. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your energy. Not family, not friends, not coworkers, not anyone. Access to your energy is a privilege, not a right, and the people who misuse it, they don't get to keep it. This is where boundaries and choices come in. Protecting your energy means saying no without guilt. It means walking away from conversations that go in circles. It means refusing to explain yourself to people who don't actually want understanding. It means choosing silence when chaos knocks at your door. Every time you do that, you're guarding your gold. And here's the thing. Narcissists will call you selfish for protecting your energy. They'll accuse you of being cold, distant, even cruel. But let's be honest. Those are the same people who drain you dry without a second thought. Their opinion is not the measure of your worth. Protecting your energy doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. Think about it like a bank account. If you gave out your money to anyone who asked, without checking whether they'd spend it wisely, how long before you'd be broke? The same is true for energy. If you give it away recklessly, you end up depleted. But when you invest it in the right places, your growth, your passions, your loved ones, you thrive. So how do you start protecting your energy like it's gold? Be selective with your battles. Not every argument deserves your time. Some fights are traps. Walk away. Guard your attention. What you focus on grows. Don't waste focus on someone who only wants to drain you. Rest without guilt. Recharge, because your energy needs recovery just like your body does. Say no unapologetically. Every yes to something draining is a no to something life-giving. Protecting your energy also means understanding that it's not infinite. You only have so much each day. Spend it on what matters. Spend it on what gives you life, not what steals it. And here's the most powerful part. When you protect your energy, you send a message. I value myself. Because how you spend your energy is how you show your worth. If you spend it on chaos, you're saying chaos is worth your time. If you spend it on growth, you're saying I am worth my time. So the next time someone tries to drag you into drama, remind yourself, my energy is gold, I won't waste it here. The next time you're tempted to argue endlessly, remind yourself, my energy is gold, I won't spend it on this. Protecting your energy isn't just a trick to deal with narcissists, it's a lifestyle. It's how you take back control of your life. It's how you stop being drained and start being fulfilled. It's how you keep your peace no matter what chaos swirls around you. Protect your energy like it's gold, because it is, and once you start guarding it, you'll realize something powerful. You've been rich all along. This trick disarms narcissists. We've walked through 6 powerful truths. silence that speaks louder than words, detachment from approval that was never real, the pause that lets you respond instead of react. Boundaries that protect like armor, the unshakable calm of the gray rock technique, and the wisdom of guarding your energy like the treasure it is. All of these tools point to one thing: power, your power. Not the kind of power that shouts or dominates, but the kind that holds steady, the kind that refuses to be controlled, the kind that says, I will not hand over my peace to anyone who doesn't respect it. Narcissists want you chasing, defending, reacting, burning out. But the moment you choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, and peace over performance, you disarm them, because their power only works if you play the game and you don't have to. Here's the truth: you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not at the mercy of someone else's moods, manipulation, or disapproval. You are stronger than their tactics, and you hold the one thing they cannot stand: control over yourself. So remember, silence is not surrender, detachment is not coldness, boundaries are not cruelty, calm is not weakness, protecting your energy is not selfish. These are not flaws, they are strengths. They are the strategies that set you free. And when you live by them, you send a message loud and clear: I know my worth. I choose my peace. I keep my power. That's the trick. That's the shift. That's how you disarm narcissists, by refusing to hand over the very fuel they need. Because when you stop feeding the fire dies, and you rise stronger, freer, and untouchable.